everyone, it's Kellen Brauer from RacerX, back again with another race examination where we're going to start off by talking about Cooper Webb going down in the heat race and unfortunately getting ran over by Adam C. and Cirillo. Just kind of break down this crash real quick and talk about two quick things here. So first of all, Webb runs it into Tomac in the second corner of this race. So Tomac is going to, kind of push him wide in this next corner, and Webb expects it, which is why he's going to go to the top of the berm right here. And the reason why he ends up falling is because his rear tire is going to end up kind of hooked in this rut. So you can see it's already kind of shifting his momentum downwards in the berm. And his front tire is also a little bit high, so it's getting into some of that loose soil up here at the very top of the berm. Like, this is where it evens out going into those Tuff Blox. So because of that, his balance is off. The front end's too high. It's going to push over, and then the front end's going to tuck right there. So that's basically the whole reason why he's going down. Like, Tomac getting in there has nothing to do with it. It was just a Webb situation of the tire falling into that rut and then him losing his balance. So he goes down right here. And a couple weird things with this. First of all, Eli looks back at him the whole way going down the straightaway. And then when Adam hits him, you can see Eli's actually going to kind of like almost like shift his head and be like, whoa, that was crazy. Like, what just happened back there, before he turns back and looks at where he's going. But I also wanted to highlight something with AC back here, because a couple people were saying that AC could have avoided this. So this is about the spot I would say where AC maybe could know that Webb is going down, like more right here, because as AC is turning into the corner, he's looking down at this rut that he's trying to get into, this small little rut right here. So as he comes through the corner, he's going to look up right there. You can see his head just look up right there and see that Webb has gone down in front of him. And this is where he starts turning and slowing down. He's going to turn the front end out of this corner and try to slow down. And the front tire is fully turned away from Webb, but he's pushing because he's already accelerated out of the corner. So the front end is actually sliding, and then it just makes contact. I mean, he just had almost no time to react to that and unfortunately hit Webb and knocked him out. And AC said after this race, too, that he basically thought about it the rest of the night and feels horrible about that situation. So I think it was just completely unavoidable and unfortunate the way it went. Yeah, Webb going to be out for a little bit. Wanted to talk about Eli Tomac Starts, because he whole shots the main event right here, and his starts have really turned around since coming to Yamaha. So I went back and looked at a couple starts. This is from 2020 St. Louis. And one thing I wanted to notice here is, first of all, Eli gets out of the gate pretty decently here. He's on that Kawasaki right next to Barcia on the Yamaha. And again, look, he's on the Yamaha now, and he's seeing Barcia basically out jump him in the first maybe 20 to 30 feet of the gate. He's getting out jumped just slightly, but it's not like he's got a bad start right here. I mean, of the whole field, he's maybe mid-pack at worst. But what's going to happen here is he comes down to the first corner is he's going to shut off a lot earlier than everybody else. Like, he could just maybe try to follow Barcia into this corner, but he gets on the brakes, and you're going to see him just kind of get swarmed around by a lot of guys. A lot of guys going up the inside or around the outside of him. And still here, it's not like he's got a great start, but it's not a terrible start. And then this particular situation, Plessinger gets stood up on the inside, and then Tomac gets, shoved wide right here and then has a terrible start. A little bit later on in the year at Salt Lake City, again, not the best start, but around all the people of the inside of him here, he's got a pretty decent jump. Like, of the 5 people on either side of him, he's ahead of them. I know Jason Anderson outside of him has a better jump, but again, the first 30 feet of the gate, he gets out jumped basically by the rest of the field. And then coming into the first corner, again, really early on the brakes. Like, right here, he's on the brakes, and then look at Barcia and everyone else around him just out drives him into this corner. So Tomac being cautious going into these first corners. And I know at this point in time, he's thinking about championship picture, doesn't want to go down in the first corner, but I mean, he ends up at the very, very back of the pack in this particular start. And so if we go back to his start that he has in Nashville, and really any start that he's had this year, two things. First of all, he starts next to the box a lot more often lately, which is another thing that he's trying to, I think, give himself a little bit more room on either side, so once he launches off the gate, he's not completely swarmed. And, right here, he outjumps Nichols slightly to his outside. Barcia's coming up the inside, but he gets a clean shift off right here, and that power of that Yamaha pulling him down the start straightaway, so he's already got a little bit of an advantage. But I think the biggest problem, or the biggest thing that he's fixed, is that he's not backing off early anymore. He's trying to drive deep into these corners, and look at, I mean, he's going around the outside of Barcia, Sexton, Moran's, everybody that's more or less out jumped him on the inside right here. And because he can apex this corner better, he ends up getting the whole shot. So I think starting position has been way different with Eli Tomac on a Yamaha. He tends to start a little bit more outside. He also gets out of the gate better. He gets those first 30 feet a little bit better. And then he's also not as afraid to back out of the challenge and go actually into the corner deep to try to whole shot a main event. So I think those things have really come together for Tomac, and that's why he ends up getting a lot better starts personally. As far as I can tell, that's what I see. Justin Barcia ends up going down in this main event, and he has a really big one. He announced earlier today that he actually ended up breaking 2 ribs, his shoulder and had a collarbone injury that he needed to get surgery on, so he's going to be out for a little while. But one thing I wanted to highlight here is you can see going up, he's a little bit kind of just like not over the center of the bike. He's just like trying to correct it as he's going up, and I think that's because he's hitting some ruts, so he's trying to correct it, and I think that just puts his balance off just enough that he just tips the top of that, and he's not going fast enough to downside this single off the Dragon's back. A lot of guys got bit by the Dragon's back. Grant Harlan also went down pretty hard on it, and then unfortunately for Barcia, the bike kind of lands on him here, so nothing really you can do different. I mean, it was just a weird situation that he got a terrible kick at the wrong time and also didn't have enough speed going up the Dragon's back to actually downside the single and not get augered into the ground, so that was unfortunate. But Chase Sexton's going to pick up his 4th win of the year at Nashville, and I wanted to just say real quick, you know, Sexton, he's got a new thing about him. He loves to do the finger point up and then kind of like to slam the fist down and pull it towards his chest thing. Like even if you go back down the start straight right here, even with his left hand, a little finger point up, slam down the chest, like kind of pumping himself up a little bit. And he did that a lot in Nationals last year when he was winning motos as well. So I think that's Sexton's move, finger point up and then smash the hand down to accentuate how excited he is to win these main events. I want to remind everybody that this video is presented by onX Off-Road. Know where to go with the #1 off-road GPS app. Access 500,000 plus miles of trails and roads, open dates, and public lands. Use the code RACERX, that's RACERX, for 20% off when you download the onX app today. All right, a couple quick things from the 250 main event. First of all, Hunter Lawrence actually almost ran into the gate off the start, and he said that he felt it was held so long that he was confused why it hadn't dropped yet, so he actually kind of was just reacting to the first little movement that he saw because it had been holding for so long, and still ends up getting the whole shot, which I think is really impressive, but Jordon Smith is going to scoot by him for the lead. But again, if we go back and look at this real quick, I mean, it's not very often that someone does this big of like a lurch forward, has to grab the front brake, and then still gets a pretty good jump. I mean, it's not like he got a bad jump and then controlled it to the inside with Jordon Smith or anything like that. Like, he basically jumped with Jordon Smith, and then even those Power of the Star Yamahas, Lawrence still gets a better drive down the start straightaway and ends up getting the whole shot. So I think that's actually pretty impressive to A, not hit the gate, and then B, still have enough of a drive to end up getting the whole shot. He's hanging out behind Jordon Smith for a while early in the main event, and then Smith has this almost crash right here. I actually think this is a really impressive save, and it all starts with Smith. He's going to kind of go off the ledge of this little rut right here to the outside, and instead of going back towards the middle of the track, he's going to end up, you can see this tiny little rut right here, he's going to end up on top of that to the left right there. So he's already kind of like cross-rutting into the Tuff Blox to the left, and then he kind of rodeos into 2 of the Tuff Blox and then actually hits this Tuff Block with his left foot and left foot peg, and then he actually gets kicked sideways and then lands sideways onto the plywood. And so I think it's actually a pretty impressive save. I think we should give him credit, even though he lost the lead right there. A lot of people would have went down right there, so that's a pretty good job by Jordon Smith. But then Hunter Lawrence pretty much took off from here and cruised it into the race win and the championship as well. And I think that this is just an awesome story for Hunter Lawrence. We talked about it earlier this week and the journey that he's been on to get to the top, and you can see just how much this really means for him. His brother Jet, who saw all the troubles that Hunter went through trying to get to the U.S. in the first place, and then Jet came with him, and then Hunter had so many injury problems and everything like that. And then this is cool. Look, you know, Jet and Hunter are hugging each other, and Joe Shimoda, who has raced them his entire career basically growing up as well, is giving them props, giving a little bit of like a clap to say like it's awesome to see that they got to the top, and both of the brothers are maybe going to win titles this year. So pretty cool story for Hunter Lawrence. Gets the win, gets the championship, and you can see just how much it means to him.